As the flames danced hungrily around the log cabin, a thick plume of smoke rose high, cutting through the clear blue sky. The crackling of burning wood and the distant rustle of trees filled the air with an oppressive tension. 3 middle-aged men wearing light khaki pants and orange safety vests walked briskly away from the chaos, the heat from the blaze radiating against their backs. "Did we really have to let it get this far?" said Tom, the man in the middle, his brow furrowing as he glanced back instinctively. He could see the structure collapsing, beams splintering, and being engulfed by the fiery inferno. The scent of burnt wood mingled with the crisp autumn air, creating a nauseating reminder of their negligence. "Couldn't have helped it once the power line sparked," replied Jack, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. He was tall, his cowboy hat tilted low, shadowing his eyes. "We should have checked the lines properly." "Yeah, but who expects a damn fire to take hold like that?" Mitch, the man on the left, chimed in, their backs still turned toward the devastation. He kept his hands tucked in his pockets, the orange vest stark against the dull earth tones of the landscape. "We had other emergencies to deal with first." The dirt road beneath their feet was uneven, turning to dust as they hurried forward. Every few steps, they heard the pop and crackle of logs being devoured by flame. It was a grim melody underscoring their hasty retreat. "Where do we go now?" "We can't just leave the cabin," Tom huffed, frustration building. The cabin hadn't simply been their project. It had been a labor of love, a spot where families gathered for years. Losing it felt like a personal failure. "Call the fire department," Jack suggested. "Get the engines out here. Don't need to have the whole county burned down over this." "Someone's already on it," Mitch cut in, his voice faltering. The truth sunk in like a weight in his stomach. There were no more options, only consequences. "We might as well start planning how to keep this from causing more problems." Tom clenched his fists. "We didn't mean for this to happen. We came to fix things, to help out." "Help out," Jack interrupted, motioning quickly toward the chaos behind them. "This ain't helping." Before they could argue further, a siren blared in the distance, cutting through the tension like a knife. A sense of urgency pervaded the air. The fire department was on its way. They needed to stave off the blaze before it spread to the surrounding woods. "I just hope everyone made it out in time," Mitch muttered under his breath, feeling a chill creep up his spine. Had they checked all the cabins? Were their families trapped inside? As if reading his mind, Tom stopped in his tracks. "We have to check the other cabins. There could be people in danger." "Are you out of your mind?" Jack retorted, exasperation escaping him in a harsh whisper. "What if there's a gas leak? We can't go back. We'd be putting ourselves at risk." But Tom had already turned, determination etched in every line of his face as he took a step back toward the chaos. "I can't just walk away while there might be people in there." Mitch glanced nervously at the inferno that was now sending sparks flying into the air. "Tom, it's too late. We won't be able to save it." Just then, a loud crack echoed from the cabin. A heavy piece of timber spiraled toward the ground, narrowly missing them. The urgency was undeniable now, as they all felt the harrowing pull between safety and duty, fear and hope. "Tom," Jack yelled, the tension amplifying. "Think about this. We may end up needing rescuing ourselves." Tom clenched his jaw, glancing between the cabin and his friends. But just as he took another step toward the fire, he noticed a figure emerging from the smoke, stumbling toward the road. Someone was coming out. "Help!" A young girl's voice strained through the haze, laced with fear. "See? They need us," Tom shouted, urgency coursing through his veins, propelling him forward. In that moment, everything slowed. The danger, the flames, the fear all seemed to fade into the background. Instinctively, he moved to help, knowing they could either turn away and leave fear behind or confront it head-on. "No!" Jack suddenly stepped forward, grabbing Tom's arm. "We need to regroup." The girl continued to stagger closer, coughing and stumbling. "Help! I can't find my brother." Mitch's expression shifted, terror washing over him. "We can't leave kids in there." "Tom's right. We need to do something." The urgency thickened the air. There was no time to think. Like a tide pulling them, They could either succumb to their fears or face the flames together. With the girl caught in the edge of their urgency, Tom made his choice. We go in.
Now.
And in that fleeting moment, they stepped back into the mouth of chaos, where the fire raged, shadows danced, and every heartbeat pulsed with the urgency of a rescue yet to start. And in that fleeting moment, they stepped back into the mouth of chaos, where the fire raged, shadows danced, and every heartbeat pulsed with the urgency of a rescue yet to start. Stay close, Tom shouted as he pushed forward, adrenaline fueling his every step. The heat intensified, wrapping around him like a suffocating blanket. Behind him, Jack and Mitch followed, their expressions a mixture of fear and determination. The girl, now at their heels, coughed violently, the smoke curling around them like a predator. Where is your brother? Tom called over his shoulder, struggling to be heard above the roar of flames. Can you point us to him? He was in the other cabin, she gasped, her eyes wide with terror. He didn't want to leave. He was playing with the dog. He thought it was just a small fire. Stay behind us, Jack urged, glancing at the girl with concern as they pushed deeper into the smoky maze of destruction. We're going to get him out. As they advanced, looming shadows and flickering light made the scene all the more surreal. The heat began to warp their senses. The cabin creaked ominously, its timbers protesting under the strain, making Tom's stomach churn with every sound. Ducking beneath a low beam, he mentally scolded himself for letting this happen. What if it spreads? Mitch called out, his voice barely audible over the crackling noise. We're running out of time. It's okay, Tom insisted, pushing forward. Just keep going. They emerged into a small clearing where the second cabin stood defiantly, much like the one they'd just fled. It appeared untouched by the flames, at least for the moment. But they could hear muffled sounds coming from inside. There, Tom pointed at the door, and they rushed toward it, but the entrance was blocked by debris. We need a way in. Jack began to shift pieces of broken wood and siding while Mitch rapidly assessed their surroundings. I can try to kick it down, Mitch offered, taking a step back to gather momentum. No, wait. Tom interrupted, frowning. Let's try the window first. It might be easier. He pointed toward a window to the left, light spilling out through shattered glass. Mitch nodded, trying to keep clarity amid chaos. Good idea. We can get in there. Can you crawl through? A small figure, a girl no older than 10, emerged from the shadows, tears of fright reflecting the dim light filtering through the smoke. I can't try. My leg. Tom's heart plummeted as he realized she was pinned. He dropped to one knee beside her, desperately scanning the area for something, anything, that could help. Stay calm. I'll get you out. Just then, the girl whimpered. I can't breathe.
Jack. Mitch.
Tom shouted frantically. We need help in here. Mitch ducked into the cabin, assessing the situation with a quick glance. We'll pull the furniture out. He moved to brace the table, and together, they coordinated their efforts. On 3. 1, 2, 3. With labored breaths and strained muscles, they lifted the table high enough. The girl crawled through, breathless but not broken. Thank you. Thank you. Get her out.
Now.
Jack urged, both encouraging and guiding them as he nudged her toward the exit. With one last push, they tumbled out into the fresh air. The girl was free, her face streaked with soot, but she was alive. Get her away from here, Tom barked, even as he turned back toward the cabin. The flames now leapt higher, crackling with an insatiable appetite. They had to get everyone as far from the danger as possible. As they moved back toward the others, a deep rumble echoed through the air. The ground trembled beneath their feet, sending shockwaves of fear coursing through Tom. What was that? He wondered aloud. It's getting worse. The whole place is coming down, Mitch urged, his voice strained. We need to move. Adrenaline battered through Tom's veins as they sprinted, ushering the girl away. Just then, the remaining cabins erupted in flames as the fire spread with vicious speed, almost as if it were stalking them. It's right behind us. Head toward the trees, Jack shouted, dodging debris that fell around them. The trees seemed to flutter like ghosts in the afternoon sun, a stark reminder of the woodland's serenity that had now turned to an unforeseen battlefield. Tom could hear the crackling of the fire, the furious roar, and the panic in Benny's voice as he called out to him from the edge of the approaching chaos. What do we do now? He turned around, glancing at the smoke boiling up in the distance. In that moment, the fear clawed at his insides. We need to get to the road. As they coordinated their escape into the tree line, the weight of what lay behind them threatened to crush Tom under its pressure. Would they all make it out? Who else was in danger? Foggy thoughts clouded his mind, but he couldn't dwell on it now. Survival was what mattered. Finally, they reached the tree line, taking shelter amid the towering pines. But as they regrouped, the stark reality of their situation began to settle in. The fire was raging. There was still so much left to fight for, and yet so much to lose. As the flames raged behind them, an overwhelming thought filled Tom. They were not done yet. They had families to protect, neighbors to safeguard, and fires to fight. The battle wasn't just against the flames. It was a fight for their community, for lives intertwined like the branches above them. Tom took a deep breath, fortifying himself, and fixated on the horizon ahead. The fight for lives would go on, and he would not walk away until everyone was safe. Beyond the shadows, beyond the flames, there was hope waiting to be rediscovered. Benny, the young girl called from outside, desperation lacing her voice as she braced herself against the wall. Is he in here? Tom called out, doing his best to stay calm despite the intensity of the moment.
Benny!
Where are you? Over here, came a small, shaky voice from the back corner. Tom dashed through the haze, heart pounding against his chest like a drum as he made his way to the source of the voice. In the far corner, he spotted the boy, no older than 8, huddled against the wall, a small brown dog protectively curled in his lap. The sight stopped Tom in his tracks. You've got to be brave, buddy, he said, kneeling in front of Benny, who looked up with wide, frightened eyes. We're here to get you out. I can't, he won't leave, Benny said, tears running down his cheeks, fingers pressed firmly against the dog's fur. Tom crouched closer, lowering his voice. What's the dog's name? Buster, Benny whispered. Okay, Benny. We have to get out of here, but Buster needs to come too. Can you help him? Tom reached out a hand, waiting patiently for Benny to trust him. The dog's fur bristled at the sound of chaos outside, and Buster let out a low growl. He's scared, Benny whimpered, his small fingers tangling in his dog's collar. I know, Tom replied softly. But we all need to be brave right now. I promise I'll protect you both. Benny hesitated, but then he nodded, his determination tempered by fear. Slowly, he stood, lifting Buster into his arms. Let's go, Tom urged, backing toward the window, the shimmering air pressing against them as they fought against both panic and smoke. Just as he was about to hoist himself outside, a loud crack echoed through the cabin. Tom, Jack's voice surged from behind him, shaking him to his core. We need to go, now. Before he could react, the structure shuddered violently beneath him. The floorboards creaked ominously as though the cabin itself was protesting their presence. Go! Tom yelled, urging Benny through. Filmy smoke began to billow into the room from the fissures in the walls. With one final push, Tom leaped through the window, grabbing Benny's arm as he landed, and pulled him through just in time. But the moment they hit the ground, a crash reverberated behind them, shattering the second cabin's supporting beams. The structure began to collapse inward with a terrifying roar. Run! Jack shouted. Tom grabbed Benny, pushing him forward while keeping one arm protectively around the boy. Behind them, the cabin splintered and fell, sending up clouds of debris as they raced into the open field. The brightness of the sun stung their eyes, but it was a welcome reprieve from the darkness. They had just fled. Are you okay? Tom attempted to reassure the children as they ran, glancing back at the flames that engulfed their sanctuary. We're almost safe. But as they reached the dirt road, Tom suddenly felt a surge of panic, a nagging sense of dread returning as he scanned the area. The original cabin was still standing in a menacing glow, flames growing higher, reaching ominously toward the sky. And within that heart-stopping moment of chaos, they had yet again underestimated the fire. It suddenly surged, roiling with new fury, as if taking aim at them directly. "We need to get to the road," Tom urged, fear gripping his heart as they turned to run. The ground shook beneath them, echoing the dark promise of danger, urgency clawing at their throats. The fire raged behind them, alive and insatiable, leaving them racing against more than just flames. They were against something that felt almost supernatural. Time was ticking, and they could feel it with every pounding heartbeat as they fled into the sunlit landscape, desperate to escape the chaos that threatened to consume them all. Racing against flames, shadows, and encroaching horror, they had to find a way to save them all before it was too late. With the air thickening and flames licking closer, Tom felt the pressure rise. "We need to regroup," he shouted, his voice strained as he turned to look for Jack and Mitch among the chaos. The reality was dawning on him. They had limited time and resources, and the fire was expanding, threatening to erase everything in its wake. The dark shapes of smoke twisted above them, swirling in a malevolent dance. Jack emerged from the next cabin, his face a mixture of anger and determination. "I couldn't find anyone in there," he yelled. "We have to assume we're alone. Then we need to keep warning others." Tom insisted, his eyes widening in urgency. But deep down, dread gnawed at him. What if no one else was left to save? Mitch burst through the door of his assigned cabin, looking pale and breathless. "I heard someone yelling for help," he gasped, barely able to catch his breath. "In the last cabin down the line?" "Let's go," Tom urged, sprinting toward the side of the cabin where the sound had come from. As they raced down the path, he could hear frantic banging. Definitely someone trapped. The smell of smoke thickened, coiling into the air like a snake, and Tom's heart raced against the backdrop of crackling flames. "We're coming." "Hang in there," he shouted, pounding against the door with his fists. "Are you in there?"
Help.
"I can't," a voice cried out, muffled and terrified. "Get back. Stand clear," Tom yelled as he thrust a shoulder against the door with every ounce of strength he had. With a violent crash, the old wood gave way, flinging open to reveal smoke-filled darkness. Inside, Tom squinted through the haze. It felt like stepping into a nightmare, everything blurred by the choking smoke. Shadows moved uncertainly in the corners of his vision. "Can you hear me?" he called into the cabin, voice hoarse.
Please.
"I'm trapped." Tom's nerves surged with adrenaline. He dodged through debris, coughing and covering his mouth with his arm. "Where are you?" "I can't move." "The furniture fell," came the voice, growing more frantic, and Tom rushed, struggling not to panic. "Find a way to reach him," Jack called from behind, his urgency bringing a sense of clarity despite the chaos. Pushing deeper into the smoke, Tom felt around until he grasped something solid. It was a table, knocked askew, its legs wedged against the wall. "I'm going to lift it. Just hold on." Sweat trickled down his brow as he strained, the weight feeling heavier than he imagined. "Get ready." With a grunt, he heaved the table up just enough to create a gap.